Hi guys. For today's video, we're going to discuss about placeholders in printf's function. So what's a placeholder? So placeholder is basically a formatting specifier that will be replaced by a value corresponding to its data type. So basically, it's like a blank that needs to be filled up with a value. Now when using placeholder in printf statements, you use the following syntax. First, you write printf, and then between the double quote will be the placeholder that you're going to use. And then after the double quote, you follow it up with a comma and the value that you're going to replace in the placeholder. There are several types of values. Um, so with regards to values, we have several types of value, and they are grouped into this. We have letters or symbols, text or a series of symbols, whole numbers, decimal numbers or rational numbers. So for our placeholder, the format specifier for each type of value are determined by these format specifiers. So we have %c that we can use as a placeholder for values that are in symbols. It can either be a letter, a number, or a symbol itself. Then we use %s for our placeholder if we are dealing with if we are dealing with strings, like this one. Strings are usually enclosed with double quotes. So this would mean that this is a string value, while a single quote is considered to be a character value. For numbers, we have the whole numbers. We use %d for numbers that are of range positive and negative 32,776. While for numbers beyond that, we have %ld, which is up to 2 million numbers, positive and negative also. For numbers that are in decimal form, we have %f for our placeholder. So it can store up to numbers that have 7 decimal places. And for numbers that have more than 7 decimal places, we can have LF, which accommodates 15 decimal places. So how do we use this format specifier? So let us take an example. For our printf, we write, if we use %c, then the value should be in a form of the same data type, which is a character with a single quote. So whenever you use a format specifier, your the value that corresponds to it should be of the same data type. So since we are using %c, so the value here should be of a string character, or a character, so that when it runs, it will just simply display whatever the value. Remember that the value here will now replace wherever the format specifier is located. So if you have used %d, therefore you will also use a value that is of the same data type. In this case, the data type should be a whole number. So a whole number, just like that one, this value 123 will now be the value that will appear wherever the %d is located. So when you run, you will have 123 output. Okay, you may combine text or word along with the format specifier. So this is, for example, so I have written here the phrase this number is, and then a format specifier, and then follow it up with a value. So the value will now replace wherever the format specifier is located. So in this case, it is right after is. So when you run the program, the output would be this number is 123. If you are going to change the position of the format specifier, for example, place it right before this, just like that, and run the program, you will notice that the number 123 is now located in front, before the word this, because when we created our printf statements, the format specifier was located before the this word in our printf. So you can actually have as many format specifier as needed when you write it on the printf. For example, in this example, you will have 3 format specifier that was used in printf. So you will also need 3 values for that one. So the first format specifier will be replaced by the first value that was written. In this case, you have 123. The second will now be replaced by 45, and the last one will be replaced by 6. So when you run the program, you will have this output. So the order of the outcome will depend on the order of your values. So if you change the values here and place 1, 2, 3 right after 6, you will now have this output, wherein the first number is 45, the second is 6, and the last one is 1, 2, 3, because you have changed the position of your value 1, 2, 3. If you want to display string value in your printf using a placeholder, just simply use the format specifier %s. So in this case, %s will now be replaced with the string, the number. So when you run the program, you will have this output, the number. For values with regards to decimal places, a number with decimal places, we can use %f. %f and %lf are almost the same, except for the number of decimal places that it can accommodate. So for this example, we have %f and the value 123.453. Take note of the /n before %f because I wanted to display the value 123.453 right below the word, the phrase, the number. So when you run the program, it would look like this. Although the output shows that 123.453 with 3 zeros, as a default for float values, you will always have up to 6 decimal places that are displayed, but you can change them by simply writing down a certain format. So to display values up to 3 decimal places in between the percentage and the F value, or the percentage and the F, you just simply write 0.3, which will indicate that you will have up to 3 decimal places that will be displayed for your format specifier %F. So when you run the program again, it would look like this. So you can change that one to 1.01, I mean 0.1 or 0.2, depending on your desired output. So always remember that whenever you use a format specifier in your printfs, it would require a value to replace. So always make sure that the format specifier have the same data type of the value that you are going to display. So if it's %d, the value should be a whole number. So if it's a %c, the value should be a character. So a character will always be enclosed with a single quote. And for %s, it should be a string, which is a series of characters which is enclosed with a double quote. So for %f, you have numbers that of 7 decimal places, up to 7 decimal places.